Hey everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. This is your final day of class, not your final exam class, but this is the final class of the year. We are going to take a look today at a run-up of overlapping events that take us to where you'll get to in American history. And one of the big things that happens in human history, we've gone a long way through human history this year. The last thing we're really going to get on is the Industrial Revolution. Now, last class we talked about revolutions that were happening when it comes to governments and leadership and countries as a whole. But today we're talking about the Industrial Revolution, which is not an overthrow of government like we saw with the American Revolution and the French Revolution, but it happens right after these revolutions take place. So as we get to the year 1800, a couple hundred years ago, we are going to start to see this new way, this new idea of creating things and building things. And it's going to take us really till today. So the industrialization, industrial revolution is really about, I want to say, let's say this. If I can fit it in. It's really about manufacturing. Manufacturing is really a large word for making things. Making stuff, as our favorite word in history, is there's a lot of stuff happening. The Industrial Revolution is about making or building things such as, in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, it's going to be about making cloth. And really, one of the cornerstones of the Industrial Revolution is that we're going to be making things, manufacturing, utilizing machines. We have technology today. During this time, we're going to start to see the creation of machines that are used to build things. So, again, we start the Industrial Revolution with textiles. Textiles is cloth. Now, let me give you a rundown of human history. Human history was all about people would make things. They would, make things by hand. They would, in this case, textiles, making cloth. They would shear a sheep, meaning get wool. They would, make that wool and turn it into thread. They would then bind that thread together to make cloth and clothes and everything. And that would have to be done by hand. Someone would have to make it. All of a sudden, we start to have the idea that we can use machines to make this cloth. And so here's the reason why we switch to machines. In the Industrial Revolution, it is going to be all about making things fast. You can do it much faster. One person has to make something by hand. It takes time. The Industrial Revolution starts in textiles. All of a sudden you have water-powered mills, which are, let me show you, these early textile mills would have a building, and it would have a huge water wheel, and it would be next to a stream, and it would turn the wheel, and that would be connected to a crank, and it would operate these machines, and it would put the cloth into the form of, take the wool and then make it into like a blanket or material that could be used for shirts or stuff like that. Now, it happens, it's a pretty quick transition. We start to use industrialization and machine use for kind of everything throughout the 1800s. This is a huge advance for human history because we use it for everything. And then we start to see, even in war, we start to use industrialization to mass produce, weapons, bullets, guns, stuff. And now we have a variety of things. Now, what needs to be stated about the Industrial Revolution is that people are going to be able to, with this machine use, we're going to start to see the beginnings of capitalism, which if you have an American history, capitalism is our economic system. Capitalism is about a free market. You can choose to build things. We try to make as much money, and if you do, then great for you. And you can be rich, and anyone can do it. It's a free market. Anyone can try anything. So one person, here's my stick figure person who's happy, decides to build this mill. And this person builds it and then mass produces a bunch of cloth. It's cheaper to sell. No one else is buying it from other people. This guy who made this mill on his own is going to now make big time bucks. Then with that big time bucks, he could open up a second mill down here. And then he makes even more money. And that's kind of how our economic system started inside of the Industrial Revolution, trying to make money. You can make a lot of money with different factories if you own things, innovation, if you invent something that everyone wants. This is the creation of business. If you looked at the time period leading up to this, let's just say the 1600 to 1900, since this takes off in the 1800s, everything pre-1800, when we're talking about those revolutions and coming out of absolutism and Enlightenment thinking and the age of exploration and all the stuff we talked about, everything was made at, we call it this, a household economy. What's a household economy? Well, it's where people make things at home. Everyone is making things at their own house. So if you can make your chair, you can make, candles, you can make whatever, tables. You made it at home. That's what you did. By the time we get to the Industrial Revolution, we start to move into the 1800s. Factories start to pop up. People start to work at factories. People who work at factories start to get something. Let me say this. Let's get rid of this one factory, textile mill. Say you're someone who's feeding the wool in here and whatever else, and industrial factories start to get really big. People earn. And what do they earn? Money. Money equals a wage. They start to make money. So, society is changing because of the Industrial Revolution. Before, you would be at home. You would probably be in agriculture, small farmer. You would make everything at home. A little bit you would take to market and try and make a little bit of money and this and that. But you would just be independent, self-sufficient on your one farm in this household economy. All of a sudden, factories start to pop up because of the Industrial Revolution. Cities start to come up because our populations are going up. And people start to work in these factories making money. And now with the money that they make, if you earn a wage, you can now buy. And what is our favorite word? You can now buy stuff. Because industry mass produces everything. And so now I go to work, I earn money, I then go and buy what I want and what I need. I am no longer having to make it myself. I now just go to my factory job, earn money, and buy things. So the Industrial Revolution, this idea now that we're going to use machines to manufacture stuff and mass produce stuff, and we're doing it faster, we're more efficient, things are great, our populations are going up, people are starting to work in factories, they have money, now all these factories are making all these different things, people have money, they go and buy things. This is now the transformation of our society. It is changing, and really the big thing that we're going to see, and we've really come a long way in today's world, is people go from, we'll use terms here, rural, meaning country, living outside, agriculture-based, outside from one another, not close to one another. And they go from rural living to urban. Urban is city life. People living together, people having apartments, people living close to each other in cities. Cities start to move up. So we're changing the way our entire society is. We had people living on farms out in the country on their own agricultural-based household economy. As we get into the Industrial Revolution, more and more people are coming to cities looking for work. They work in factories. We start to see less people living on small farms, more people living in cities. In fact, today we have now reached the point where more people live in cities than they do live on farms or agriculture. And this is the first time that you never saw that. This is the Industrial Revolution changes human history, changes the way that we live. And that is a major changing point in our class. We have come a long way. We've come from the beginnings of human history to now changing our society, living in cities, mass producing things, machines. Today, again, we're in a technological age where we have new technology all the time. You know, way more fast paced. We have gotten to the point where we need things now quicker, faster, and that begins at this point. So for the last couple hundred years, we have been just, you know, crazy fast, going up on everything. And we'll see where it leads us. But for you, all you need to do today is show me these notes. We do have a final next class. We will have 2 parts to it. You will have a quiz-like part. I'm not sure how many questions yet. And then you will have also a project-based part where I'll give you a few topics and then you'll look into that, and then that will be together how I give you your final exam grade. And that's the news. We have hit the end of the year, this crazy year, and I will see you next class for the final exam. Have a great day.